This is Neil deGrasse Tyson, your personal astrophysicist, and right now you are watching, and possibly only just listening to, The Hole.
Welcome to The Hole. I am Rob Sprans.
I'm Franco Del Valle.
I'm Lori Levine.
Kari Byron is with us, the crash test girl extraordinaire. Kari, I've seen you dismantle things, build things, blow things up, and you are still going at it. Big time. I want to thank you for joining us.
Why, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I see you have a skill. We were admiring the cameras behind you and the setup when we were trying to get set up here. It looks cool.
Oh,
and that's George.
That is George, my skeleton. Well, when I was a kid, I lived in the mountains, and weird breezes would always open doors, and my parents would be like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's just George." And so when I got older, and I bought this skeleton, I'm like, obviously it's going to be George. Like anything mysterious that happens, oh, that's George.
Yeah, but did you ever wonder like who George was? Did they elaborate, or it's just a random guy named George?
Well, when my parents moved, they always pick a new ghost for the house. The house they live in now, a guy named Roy died in there. So now the ghost is Roy. So I'm just assuming, even though this is a plastic skeleton, this is not real, that George would come with me from my childhood.
Yeah, if you like every time you do another show, if I see more skeletons behind you, I'm going to get concerned. But for now, I'm just going to leave it as one.
Well, I do have to admit, so when MythBusters used real human skulls, which we did a lot, animal skulls, human skulls, that we would buy from a place called the Bone Room in Berkeley, which always weirded me out that we could buy a human skull.
Wait, there's a place literally called the Bone Room that you...
Yeah. I mean, it's science. It's just for them, it's just parts. So you could buy it for scientific research, or for us, we use them on the show every now and then for authenticity. I don't know. It was 14 years ago. I think maybe rules were looser, but instead of instead of getting rid of the skulls, I used to clean them and take them home because it felt like a dishonor to just throw them away. So I turn them into art.
Actually. Yeah, no, that actually makes sense.
Where are they now?
There's pieces that are in pieces of art in my studio, which I realize if for some reason something goes horribly wrong, I get arrested, the house burns down, there's going to be a lot of really strange human remains.
There's going to be a lot of questions.
Like some sort of iconography happening that they're going to think I'm a serial killer. Yeah, that's a good way to start an interview, by the way.
Well, you know what? You have it on record. Like, this is literally your defense.
Maybe that's my diabolical plan.
It's been 15 years just coming up. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get on a very popular show that uses skulls that doesn't exist yet, and then I'm going to use that as my album. Probably could have thought of a better way to do it.
I'm not dark, but I'm an ex-goth. I don't know.
So you mentioned art, and one of the things that I learned about you, in doing a little extra research and doing the deeper Kari dive, so to speak, was that you were an artist before anything else. Like, that's what you were before you started doing any of this stuff.
I mean, I've always been very crafty and into arts, and I wanted to be a big artist in the city, and I loved sculpture, but all of the sculptures I did were kind of weird and very figurative, and they seemed to fit better with something that would be in special effects. So when I learned about model making and special effects, I was instantly charmed. The idea that I could make sculptures and also make a living, because rarely did people buy my art. And so I had like 3 jobs, and starving artist is stupid. I'm an eater. So that's how I got my job at MythBusters, is Jamie Heineman, the guy with the mustache.
Yeah,
he had a special effects shop called M5 Industries, and they did the coolest stuff. I mean, I walked into his shop. There's a mugwump from the movie Naked Lunch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you know that movie. There was a pod from Running Man with a tiny Schwarzenegger in it. There was starships from Star Wars, and all the faces from Nightmare Before Christmas on the wall. I was like, oh, I want to do this.
And he created those then? Or
it was just his shop. So he had a lot of artists employed, and a lot of those things were done in his shop.
Yeah, because the one of the rumors at the time that the show was out that they were stuntmen or they were special effects. They were more special effects guys than anything else.
They're model makers.
Yeah, both Adam and Jamie for that matter.
And Tori and Grant. Everybody, they all worked at ILM or worked in that industry.
So at the time you start working with them, there is no show at that point. It's just they are just doing that specifically.
No, actually, okay, so it was a special effects shop and a prop shop, and I got my internship there because I told Jamie I would work for free. So when you say working, I was really just offering my services that he could charge out for a lot of money and work for free. Right. The first day I started was the first day MythBusters was filming their pilot episode. So I was cleaning up in the background. I was always laughing. I was also the only girl around. So they pushed me in front of the camera a lot, and I laugh at everything. So it kind of worked out. I scream, I laugh.
Took a lot away from my earlier jokes now, but that's fine. Whatever.
Oh, sorry.
So when they started this and you're there and you're just working on models, it goes from that to, was the premise to originally be blowing things up and doing all of those different things, or did it just progress over the years? Because it was 15 years you did that, right?
This was sort of the wild west of cable back then, where it went from animal documentaries into reality television. So everything was new. You had your basic stations you watched, and then the cable stations were sort of few. So Discovery took a bunch of risk on Dirty Jobs and Deadliest Catch and all those, American Chopper and MythBusters. So we had the luxury of growing a voice and learning who we were and figuring it out. It wasn't like you got to be a splash hit from the get, because it was all new and kind of exciting. None of us they wouldn't have cast any of us if they did that show now. We were all like working people. We live in San Francisco. We're not fancy Hollywood. A bunch of nerds. It just happened that we had chemistry and we worked really well together, and we could find that little click. And I think what made the show really popular was the fact that everybody knows a guy like Tori or a girl like me or a crazy guy like Jamie.
Mm-hmm. Crazy guy. Yeah, but that is true. But, at the same time, all of you kind of work together to do these projects. And I know they had two teams between, you guys were really the ones who were building a lot of the stuff for them to do in the beginning. And then as the show progressed, the two teams had their own segments and you had done your own. So what level of science background did you have at the time that you started that? Or did any of them have any kind of engineering experience, or you were just figuring out on the fly, would be even cooler actually?
Well, Grant had an electrical engineering degree. Jamie had a degree in Russian. Tori and I had film studies degrees. Okay. And Adam is very well read, and I don't think he even has a college degree. None of us have a science background. And that was kind of the gag of the show, is that we're learning with you, and we're asking the questions, and we're curious. And so we go to the experts, and when something happens, we honestly don't know how it's going to turn out. So it happens. So that's real. Something blows up and we're like, oh, that's because that's how you actually feel. There is zero acting, because we're all very bad at it.
and you got to see a lot of things blow up, man. Just a lot.
It's so much. And even I'm friends with the guys on the bomb squad. So even when it's not the show, we'd still go up there and see stuff, and
just to watch stuff blow up.
Yeah, they confiscate some. Never mind.
That's not where you got the skeleton from.
No. Fortunately. Fortunately. God, that was creepy. Yeah. No, I'm glad. Yeah. Go on. What's the next question?
So it's like you had to scale up. As things progress, it seemed like you had to scale up, in the safety realm too. There were a lot of precautions you had to take. How strict are the rules, considering you were doing it you're doing it for a television show, and none of you guys really had that kind of experience? So did you have consultants that had to tell you, listen, you can't just be, hooking up nine fire hoses to a car in the middle of your garage? What are the rules of that? How do you learn what you can and can't do?
Well, we had a very strict safety protocol, and we went over a lot of questions ahead of time. Like we had this questionnaire we went through before every experiment, but mostly we used experts. We learned very early on, you want to blow something up, call the bomb squad. You want to set a fire, you call the firemen. You want to shoot something, you call the cops. They will observe, tell you what to do, tell you if you're going to do something wrong. Most of our injuries happened for dumb reasons, like we're rushing around and somebody cuts off a finger on the bandsaw or slips and breaks their knee on ballistics gel.
Wow. So what was the word? Well, did someone really lose?
I love that Kari says that like it's just normal.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So,
Someone loses a finger, we were rushing.
That's just every day in Brooklyn, That's
Well, Jamie shot a grappling hook into the roof and started climbing up it, and it broke and hit him in the eye, and he had to like right below the eye, and he had to explain that he got hit with a grappling hook. Like whenever we would go to the doctor for something, they're like, "Wait, what happened again?"
Sounds like insurance
the
fraud.
best story is when you were pregnant and you're telling your OBGYN, you're telling them, like, can I still be near guns being shot? Does my daughter have ears yet? Like, that's crazy.
Like, how far away do I need to be from 25 pounds of ANFO?
It's not really a common question that they get either.
Yeah, it took some personal research. I'm actually still friends with that woman, and we always joke because I am an eternal prankster, and I used to take, like, I always had all these weird doll parts from stuff in the shop, and when I go to my appointments, I would hide them in the towels or something, so that, like, 10 appointments later, they'd find like a baby arm or something, and I never admitted to it till like a decade later. She's like, "That was you?"
She should have known.
Long game, baby, long game.
Yeah, that's smart. That is definitely a long, especially because you don't know if you're ever going to see him again.
The best part from being pregnant is when we had to shoot, we were trying to do corner shot where you shoot a gun and it's supposed to turn a corner like the movie Wanted.
The gun.
And I had to fit a flak jacket around my big old belly. It was like 5 or 6 months. And in the rough cut that you don't see, I'm putting on the flak jacket and the narrator says, "It's a little late for protection now, Kari." For some reason, they cut that from the final, and I was like, "Oh my God, that is the best. How could you, that was so good."
Yeah. I guess there's always somebody's like, "Well, children are going to watch this."
That's
They
a good
wouldn't
joke.
even know what it
That covers
meant, though.
everyone.
Like,
Yeah, it's like a joke from Bugs Bunny or something. It's
I know. Well, so once you start doing these things and people start like, what was the worst injury you ever had?
I broke my knee twice on set.
Oh,
That was
The same-
yeah.
Yeah. I slipped in ballistics gel and fell, and it made it really weak. And then some years later, we were doing snow myths during a heat wave in San Francisco, which is rare, and just things were melting everywhere. And I was wearing Converse, and I just slipped, and it broke the kneecap. Yeah, and I'm laying on the ground, and all the Australian crew that we have are coming up around me, and I'm like, "Don't take me to the hospital. It's too expensive." And they're all just like, "Oh, what? That's what?" I'm just like, "It's fine. Just put some ice on it."
So you decided to wear Converse Chuck Taylors in the snow?
No, it was. But we brought snow in. It was San Francisco. It was 90 degrees out.
You're just not used to snow.
No, I'm not.
Well, it happened to me. I'm laughing because it happened to me because I visited my friend when he was in college back in the day, and I went to visit him in Albany, and it was really nice out, and all I had was a pair of Chucks. It snowed like about 10 inches of snow at night, and I had nothing but that, so I put a plastic bag. Like I put my sock on and I put a plastic bag on, and then I put the Chucks on. So needless to say, I didn't meet any girls at that party.
Oh.
No one wanted to talk to the guy with like plastic bags in between his shoes and socks.
strange.
No, I hid them well. But my feet were so disgusting when I took it off. I didn't recommend people do that in the
Just
snow.
like insulated, like you just kept it like a bubble of sweat.
Just like a building athlete's foot.
Yeah.
You're a genius as far as I'm concerned.
All I had it was weird because I only had one toe it was just one big toe when I was done. That's just like, haven't separated.
Oh, you kind of just made a sausage out of your foot.
Exactly.
But those webbed feet make you a better swimmer.
Right. So, we have so many of your other projects that I want to get into. I definitely want to talk about Crash Test World, which is coming up. But I don't want to leave MythBusters yet because, I've had 15 years of questions I got to get out. So you have to bear with me a little bit.
Go for it. I got nowhere to go.
Yeah. All right. So what was the one, like, were any that really, like, legitimately scared you that you thought you were going to get hurt and didn't? Or you were like, I don't think we should be doing, like this is bad.
A lot of them. Sometimes when we work with animals, things got a little unpredictable. We were doing a shoot one time at night in the Bahamas in shark-infested waters because we had to find out if sharks were attracted to flashlights. So there was...
I would have been out of...
First of all, there's like a cyclone coming in, and so we have to film quickly, and we had to put lights underwater, and they're all moving around. It's kind of crazy. And we all go diving down and do the control experiment, which is with no flashlights, but there's dim light kind of trying to light us. Okay, we finished that one, and we have to come back up to make sure that we're not going to blow away in the cyclone. And then they're like, okay, go down for the second experiment. So we go back down with flashlights. First of all, turns out when you turn on the flashlight, you see a lot more sharks. And there were a lot of sharks, but these were reef sharks. They're only the size of me. But luckily, the chainmail I'm wearing, they said if they bite, they slide off. So I'm going to be fine. At worst, I'm going to get a bruise. Still scaring.
Oh, still
it's like I'm going through my oxygen like this. And they're like, slow your breathing. I'm like, it's terrifying. And they are attracted to flashlights. So they start coming at us to explore. And like, I look over and I see Tori bashing one on the head with this flashlight because it's coming too close to him. So it'll go the other direction. And then all of a sudden, we're not done with the experiment yet. And I hear the shark and the dive master. He said, "Get back on the boat. We're done. Get on the boat." And he said it in such a controlled way with no fun in his voice. And I'm like, huh. So everybody goes back up to the boat. I know we're not done. I'm the last one. I'm not even out of the water. And they're like, yeah, so we just spotted a tiger shark. And that chainmail you're wearing, not going to help. I dove onto the deck of the boat because apparently they'll just grab you, spin, and just rip your limb off.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, on this particular shoot, one of the sharks grabbed onto Grant on the arm, and it scared him, but that leverage made the shark spin and knock my mask off. So all I saw was a shark biting my friend, and then just water.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, Alexa's involved.
I know the G word started to talk to me. I forgot to unplug it.
They're always watching. That's the new Big Brother.
Mine just beeped because I said it, so don't worry. If you want, we could just have our echoes just do the show. I'm
out.
I have one downstairs. I can go grab it real quick.
It's starting to get scary. Every time I mention something, I'll go on social media and see an ad for it now, even though the two are not connected. Like I was looking for a car, I mentioned an Audi, and I open up Instagram and there's an ad for an Audi.
So do you turn, when you stop looking at your apps, your social media apps, all of your social apps, do you turn them off completely, or do you leave them running in the background?
I leave them running in the background.
That's how they're getting your information, is because they are listening when it's open in the background, and you have signed that away in your terms.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just turn everything off when you're done with any of those apps, and I'm not going to call them out because they're watching us right now. Turn them all off.
Does it rhyme with Macebook?
Instagram?
All the things. All the things. I mean, who reads all of the fine print? Do you read all the fine print? Do you read all the terms and conditions?
No, I don't. And there's that great South Park episode where they didn't read the Apple terms and conditions.
The Apple are the best. Everyone just scans through.
I know, that's great.
all I can think of is like the last long thing I read was probably like the Mueller report. That's like the last long like report of any kind or like anything I've ever had. Like that was the last thing I read.
You read the entire Mueller report?
Yeah, I don't know why. I just decided to spend an entire day of work just reading the Mueller report.
You know what? You actually just got more attractive to me. That is so hot.
I remember seeing the news and people going like, have you read the Mueller report? And then like obviously the Daily Show did the thing where they were like, oh, just going around asking people about the report and nobody had read it. And I was like, I read the Mueller report. And I realize now that like not a lot of people have because people don't have the time. But I was just like, you know what? Like I read books every once in a while. I'll screw it. I hate my job. I might as well just read the report.
People
spend the whole day doing it.
Haven't read the Mueller report.
I know. People in government probably haven't read the Mueller report.
Agreed.
Whatever.
I think we should do an episode where you just read it, the whole thing from beginning to end.
Yeah,
That's gonna rate.
Yeah, that's gonna be top 20. We're gonna be like a Billboard 100, top 100, but just me reading the Mueller report.
That is impressive, though, that you read it. Because you know what? A lot of times if I'm in an argument and I'm trying to defend it, I'm like, did you read the report? You should read it. You should read it. They never go, did you read it? Because I would be like, well, no. But you should.
I didn't know that it would mean that much, but this is like an honor. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that the Mueller report gave me some extra points.
So, you know, I'm trying to think of other ones that I had, but it was really like what, you know, questions you probably get 1 billion times. Like, what was your favorite of the bunch of all the experiments you did? And, you know, things you've heard 1 million times, I'm sure.
We didn't do enough episodes where I had to go to the spa. We always spent, like, it was always like, you're going to spend all day in a quarry in the middle of hot California and there won't be a porta potty.
Did you ever do that in the idea room? Like I would be like, can a girl have a 6-hour facial? Is that something possible?
Turns out those ideas just never made it. Yeah, unfortunately.
Who would have thought that wouldn't make watchable television?
The longest pedicure.
I mean, yeah, if I got one today after years of not going, it'd probably be must-watch TV.
Now Franco's trying to really ring up the points. You know, he gives pedicures while he was reading them.
I haven't gone to a nail place since my mom's wedding. That's the last time I went.
Is that a long time ago? Was it?
Oh, it was a long time ago. It was a second wedding. So
I have no reference.
I've been on Earth for 32 years tomorrow, but that must have been when I was like 16 or 17.
Aww.
Yeah.
Happy.
She was like, you got to have nice nails for my wedding. I was like, all right, that makes sense.
That was nice. So when this ends, Kari, was it their decision? Was it Jamie and Adam decided? Did they go to you guys and say, okay, we're done with the show. We're not doing them anymore. How did that happen? Because I've heard you say many a time that you were kind of crushed when you found out. You know, I know nothing goes forever, but you know, it was a good 15 years. That's a good run for any show.
I mean, we all spent every single season waiting for the other shoe to drop, thinking that like, there's no way this cool thing can keep going. But then after a decade, you're like, it's still going. This is my life. So when they finally told us, we had been working, 43 weeks a year. Like we took like little vacations. It was more than a 9-to-5 job. We worked our tails off for a really long time. So when they told us they didn't know if we were coming back after Christmas break, all of us were like, what? What do you mean? They're like, well, you might not be coming back. And we were all sort of in shock, and we left the shop, and then we got a call saying, well, things are going to change. It's not the same show it used to be. And honestly, they said, would you work for 1 month out of the year with a 1-year exclusivity clause that you couldn't work for anybody else at a huge pay cut where you only got paid for the 4 weeks?
Ah, come on.
And it was one of those offers that they made so that you had to refuse it, because if I couldn't work for anybody else, I was screwed. So I said, well, I'll still do the 1 month because I love the show. This is my family. I'll do it. Me, Grant, and Tori all said we would do it, even though it sucked and we were heartbroken. We're like, well, this would be a good way to like at least go out with some sort of conclusion. Yeah. And they said the exclusivity clause is non-negotiable. And we were just, none of us could do it. We couldn't manage it. I had a kid. I have a family. Yeah. I couldn't do it. And it turned out to be a budgetary thing. And they thought that they could just, new executives, and they just thought they could do the show with Jamie and Adam alone. And it one season and it got canceled.
Oh, so that was really, so wait a minute. So Jamie and Adam didn't get that same clause. They just went after you guys. That's kind of messed up.
Yeah, I think they might have gotten a raise.
Wow.
That's what I heard.
Well, yeah, and it's true that it did only go one season, but thankfully the people at Netflix were smart enough
to realize the following.
Right, they jumped on it, and you got White Rabbit Project,
it was a good show with Grant and Tori. I mean,
it was. I mean, it was. It was MythBusters, but you guys added some cinematic quality to it. Like you had some really nice setups to everything. It was. I always remember the first episode, how it started right away. That I was like, this is going to be really good. You had that cyborg cockroach.
Yes.
And you're trying to put like robotics into a cockroach, and then because it was, I think it was trying to remember. I think it was about superpowers, that one, right? And you had
mind control.
You had mind control, which right away when I heard that, I'm like, well, that's not possible. So how is that going to even happen? And lo and behold, someone's controlling your arm with their, it's insane. Like,
yeah, I was sending electrical impulses that I would control with my body. The electrical impulses would trigger the muscles on Tori's arms and face so that it was involuntary. Like, have you ever seen those like belts that they're like, look, it does sit-ups for you, and it just like contracts your muscles.
Yeah.
So it was like that. So I was connected to Tori, and he didn't know that he was going to be a part of that experiment. And he sits down at a table with me. Tori and I are really good friends. We eat Italian food a lot together. So for him, he's like, curious, suspicious, skeptical, but still getting pizza and wine. So he's going to do it with me. And he had no idea how horrifying this would be, that every time he tried to take a sip of wine, I would signal his arms just, he didn't get a bite of food. He didn't get a sip of wine, but I just proceeded to get more and more tipsy, which makes me more sardonic, I guess you would say. And I was laughing my tail off. The cameraman had to just lock the cameras because they were laughing. The producers were laughing. We were all belly laughing so hard. It was insane. I wanted the whole White Rabbit Project to be that, like more interaction and experiments between us with more chemistry. And I think the problem with the show not getting a second season was because we didn't get that MythBusters shot where you get a season 2 to find your voice, because I would have made the whole show like that. And so by the time it came around to season 2, like it didn't happen for us. But
yeah, but I mean, the one thing with you is that you just kept on going, of course. And because you found this niche where first it was science and science experiments, and then, that kind of extended into White Rabbit Project, of course. So now you have Crash Test World, which is almost like it was made, like you've been practicing for this. Because now you're not just doing just the stunts and just looking at science, but now you're looking at how science can help humanity and how it can help the world, and you get to travel on top of that.
Yeah, I'm a world traveler. I've always loved traveling. Straight out of college, this was before the internet, and when we had just a Lonely Planet book, I bought tickets for a year and traveled around the world with a backpack. Mostly, I didn't have a lot of money, so a lot of Southeast Asia and places where it's like, no, I don't want a bathroom attached to my room. I'm not spending that extra 50 cents. Like really just hostels and like doing what you can and jumping trains. And I had a big adventure, and it just made me really appreciate the world and cultures and how we're more alike than different. And I just grew in empathy for us as a global citizenry. So for me, it's always been a part of me to just feel like I had this expanded sense of knowledge of the world. And I always thought that was my best education. So Crash Test World is about bringing global citizenry to a younger audience. It's still family viewing. And we look for big ideas, and I get to signal boost innovators, scientists, even chefs, people that are working hard to figure out questions and the answers to questions to, like, how do we live in peace in a place of great conflict like Israel? How does a culture like Berlin go from a walled city to one of the most open and successful places for refugees? Like, I get to actually see people working and get to give them a voice on the show. And not only is it going to air as a half-hour episode on Discovery Channel someday, they've been sitting on it for way too long, but also just saying, Discovery, air it. But also we break it up into educational pods that are 5 to 10 minutes, everything from beekeeping in Detroit to surfing for peace in Israel. And we write a lesson plan that goes along with the 10 minutes of video content, and we put it on projectexplorer.org. So when you're remote learning, you've got a lesson plan that parents and teachers can use attached with video content that is high production value. So you get sort of what MythBusters did in classrooms. You get a lesson and maybe give teachers a little break, because we bring teachers on the road with us.
Yeah, and I did see, because I watched a lot of those segments, and they're great. And I like that, especially with the Berlin Wall. Like, the whole concept is, do walls really work? It's current conversation, but at the same time, you're still diving in. MythBusters was, here's what people think. Let's dive into if it's real or not. I mean, that at the end of the day is the concept. So you're in a weird way taking social issues and myth busting them, so to speak, as well, which is very, very cool. But I did notice the lesson button on all of it. Now I understand why. I was like,
it's all about critical thinking. MythBusters, it just turns out that the scientific method was the perfect narrative vehicle for busting myths. But it's also the most amazing way of any sort of storytelling. You come up with a question and then you try to prove or disprove it through anecdotal or evidentiary stories. And I mean, we also visit places with really great food. So for me, it's a win-win.
A win-win. And so I'm going to play a clip. This is from the New York episode. We're all from New York, so this is a perfect one. So let's take a quick look.
On the ground here.
Yeah.
This wasn't here a few years ago.
More than 300 pillars were installed between the tracks, creating a surface floating above the trains.
In not too long, people will be coming on the train, walking on these stones and pavers, and they're coming home because they live here. This is their community.
You can put the next one in.
Sure.
Right. Throw it in there with a little swagger. Come on, throw it in there. I want this all done by tonight.
Level with me. How is it?
Look, you tell me. Oh my God. Right on the money.
I mean, this is an incredibly unique project. It's not just a place to live. I mean, this is beautiful. Hudson Yards will also have 14 acres of open public space and a structure called The Vessel, with more than a mile of stairways overlooking it all.
All right, so you're installing bricks.
New York was a great episode because it was about how do we live in megacities. New York is an incredible organism. Everything from how you travel around town. There's a million ways to get across town, by ferry, by subway, by bike, by car. I mean, it's changed a lot. This was pre-pandemic that we filmed.
Well, there's a lot of organisms in New York, one way or the other.
But we got to be the only film crew to go to the top of the Hudson Yards project before it got finished. I got to help pound in the bricks and talk to them about the ecosystem of Hudson Yards, whereas, it's built on top of train yards. So the trees that are on top of those yards, their roots are feeling a continual heat from down below. So they have a heating and cooling system so that those trees will actually go through the seasons and lose their leaves instead of continually being in one season. I mean, the science that goes behind that kind of architecture is insane. I mean, they're showing kids in the Bronx how to grow vegetables indoors on towers so that they can actually bring some sort of equity to the kids over there that maybe don't get to have fresh vegetables and their only meal might be at school. I mean, it's so cool to be able to go see people who are trying to make a difference.
Yeah, so you've also taken, I watched the episode in Qatar as well. In that one specifically, now I know that you're a bit of a germaphobe, as am I. So the traveling part of that alone, to me, like to go to, like, that's one thing about, you were in the desert, like you were in that. Like, so what is the desert like there? I mean, it seemed like it was a little cooler than I thought it would be. You always get these images of people, walking through the desert, parched, and what was that experience like?
I mean, the atmosphere is unrelenting. It really is. It's really intense, and it's just one big reflector. So you'd think you would burn, which is why they wear the abaya that covers their skin. But I am a germaphobe, but not a dirtophobe. I don't mind dirt. It's just, I'm actually less of a germaphobe now that we've started this pandemic, because people don't shake my hand anymore with their gross, sweaty hands. And people are washing their hands when they come out of the bathroom. I'm serious. I really believe that like 80% of men didn't wash their hands after they went pee.
I think that's a low number too, Kari.
Come on.
I mean, I've done informal polls, when I'd be like, just for my data collection edification, did you wash your hands? And they'd be like, nah, it's clean. I'm like, like this is the story I always told about Grant, because he knew that like this was my perspective, and I'm a nastyophobe, I guess you would say. Like, I want to clean the airplane seats because I've seen people change their babies on those food trays. And when men come out of the bathroom, I just assume that they didn't wash their hands. So Grant would always mess with me. And we always had a porta potty on set, which they're not that private. So he'd be in the porta potty and he'd be like, Kari, I'm touching my penis. Just to mess with me.
I mean, it's we have to at least touch on this. It was as funny as it was. It's so sad what happened to Grant, and I'm really sorry that you lost him. That we all did, because he seemed, sometimes you see people on camera and they're different than they are off camera. You are exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's awesome, but that's not always the case. There are some times that we interview someone and they're quite different than what we've expected. He just looked like a genuine good soul, just in general. And if he's anything like that, what we saw, it's a loss. It's a really big loss, and it's a shock.
He was a good guy. He really was. And is one of his final projects, he was making a baby Yoda to take to children's hospitals, because he was always so well connected with kids. They would show up at the shop, and instead of being like, kid, it's my lunch hour, he'd be like, what interests you? Let me show you around. Ask me all the questions you like. And he would just really engage. Like, he was just one of those people that should have had kids. Like, he was great. He was a dog person, a cat person, a kid person, which are kind people.
Yeah, absolutely. He really seemed like a good guy, and he added a lot. Like the three of you together were a great team. Like, from the segments on MythBusters to White Rabbit Project, like it was comforting when White Rabbit started, because even though MythBusters ended, in a lot of ways it did even before it ended for real, because it just wasn't the same, like you said. But it was comforting for us because we got to see you all again, in doing the same things and being probably a little more unleashed, because it was your own show and you got to do whatever you want.
That's not how TV works. But yeah, no, it was great to be back with the gang again. I really love those guys. And we used to hang out after the show, because, we'd be on location in the Mojave Desert or Albuquerque, or, we didn't go to glamorous. We were never in Paris. We were in Ione or, Bakersfield. So afterwards we'd always hang out and have beers and play in the swimming pool or whatever we do together. So we were like siblings. I mean, you think you go through something crazy or grand or traumatic with somebody, you're bonded for life. Imagine 14 years of that, So he was definitely, we loved, we fought, all the things. He was very, 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 very much a part of my life. There are pictures of him all over my house.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry for your loss. He was a great, great guy to watch on TV, and he really brought a lot of joy to a lot of people. So it's good to know that he was very similar to what we thought he was.
And now knowing that he was going to children's hospitals with a baby Yoda, it's so unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's going to continue without him. He's
good.
making a foundation. I believe USC is actually going to be participating in this foundation to help STEAM and carry on with kids getting more access to STEAM curriculum.
That's really cool. So
that's another thing I love. I've never heard STEAM before you. I've never heard the A in there.
You got to put the arts in there.
I love that.
Art and science are so close. It's all about fostering a curiosity. And I really think that scientists and artists they really have a crossover.
No, I read that just recently when we were having you on, and I was like, this is not said enough. This should totally be a thing. The STEAM should take over more than STEM.
I'm counting on you, Lori.
I'm pushing it.
Now, you had mentioned a little earlier in the conversation, you had mentioned using scientific methods to apply to life. And, we have to mention, of course, you also have a book. I mean, well, you do a lot of stuff, Kari. Kari has a book called Crash Test Girl, where you do spend some time talking about that. Like, you've used scientific method and apply it to issues in your life. Can you elaborate a little bit on how that would work? Because right now, if there's any time that people need to not only trust in science a little more, but could use even comfort from it, can you share a little bit about what you did to arrive at those things, to help you through things?
I mean, it's just a methodology of critical thinking. It's asking the question, forming a hypothesis.
I don't even know what that is anymore.
Seriously, it's not just jumping in necessarily head first. It's experimentation. It's figuring things out by taking the risks, trying, and then coming up with conclusions based on those experiments you had. I mean, even dating, like, is this guy worth it? You're going to go on the date. You're going to say, okay, this guy is somebody that I could be with. Nope. He didn't wash his hands. Okay. There's my data-driven evidence.
You read the Mueller report.
No. Yeah, I just feel like the scientific method is something that is just, you can really apply it to anything in your life.
So it's just really a methodical thinking instead of just maybe jumping with your brain a little more than with your gut, I guess.
Instead of faith, I believe in experimentation.
Mm-hmm. That's a great way to put it. And, I really wish that was a more common theme at the moment, because it just seems to be a lot of, we had Neil deGrasse Tyson on a couple of
I watched that.
Oh, you did?
I did.
I mean, it was just, you saw me giggle like a schoolgirl throughout the whole thing, I'm sure. I was just like, wow, it's Neil.
He's so cool.
He's so cool. He is. But, throughout that's one of the first things that I asked him is like, it used to be science is science. It's clear. Everyone got it. And it doesn't matter what your faith was, what your background was. You were able to, with maybe the exception of the really extreme on the faith side, even they understood science. They understood that plays a part. But now it's just completely segmented, where it's either you believe in science, or I can't believe I'm saying it, or you don't. And
I find it strange it's politicized, because I really believe that when something's evidence-based, or, there's people really working for your best interest, that I give them a chance before denying it. I wear a mask outside proudly, because
You'll do.
I have seen experiments, even on my own show, about how airborne bacteria and virus spread, and I care about you. It's not a political statement. It is a empathy statement when I wear my mask. I'm wearing my mask because if I'm somebody who's contagious, I don't want to infect you. And I think that maybe we need to approach each other as communicators in a way that finds empathy in the conversation instead of, you're wrong, I'm right. I think we need to start saying, okay, what do you care about? Let me see if we can find enough of a common ground that it's about us both caring about the same thing. And maybe we can get across more sensical, factual, evidentiary.
Oh, do I hope so?
Conversation.
You know, it's funny you said that, because before we came on, we were talking about, Lori had mentioned a while back that what they should have told everyone is that you wear a mask to protect yourself, not to protect others. It's kind of a sad state of humanity in a way, because, you know, if you would have said, if you don't wear a mask, you're going to get sick.
Right.
Probably everybody would have wear it. We can't hear you, Laura. You're muted. I see your mouth.
So sorry, I have a dog that's barking. Yeah, I think that people just would have put the mask on immediately and we would have been over this by now. We would be like South Korea,
or anywhere else that's Germany. My friend's in Amsterdam. She's like, we're going to restaurants. It's cool. Actually, San Francisco's doing really well because it's a very mask-friendly place, and we're opening schools up, and we actually haven't had a rise in cases. It's so...
And, you know...
I'll let you know how it goes.
In a bit. Yeah, I haven't been to New York in a bit, so I have no idea what it's like right now.
Yeah, Franco bailed. He went to New Hampshire for a little while to get away from it. Understandably so. Like, I'm not in the city. Lori's in the city.
At Hudson Yards. Kari's brick is back there.
Shut up. Do you live in Hudson Yards?
No, but that's the view of it.
Oh, nice.
Can you go see the brick real quick and bring
I'll be right back.
Yes. If I could pinpoint the exact one, I would.
Like, security led me up to where she was.
Oh no, my brick's down on the ground. I could kind of, I think when I go back, I could maybe approximately see which one is crooked, because those guys would be like, hold on, damn. It's all level, and mine's like,
yours is the one everyone trips on, probably.
Those guys are like super strong and they're hammering all day. And they're like, sure, it's fine. They probably picked it up and changed it after I left.
They probably call it the Kari lawsuit for all the people.
Yeah, right?
Don't mention that, Rob.
Sorry, my bad. So I did want to ask another question, because one of the things that I was thinking about having you on is, you know, we don't have a lot of women in the science field that are representatives of science, so to speak. You know, that's what I think of Neil. He represents science to everyone. Do you find being in a mostly male-dominated field like that, did you ever find any type of people didn't take you seriously or just treated you differently? Or you're laughing, so I know where this is going.
I have a feeling she has a few stories.
I mean, and when I first started, absolutely. I think things have changed a lot. I think that the current generation of women is stronger, more informed, and in a lot better place. I think that they don't apologize as much as we used to. I think that they've really learned lessons that have been laid out, and I'm so proud of this generation of women, because I'm looking at Diana Corwin, the physics girl, or Emily Condrelli on that does Emily's Lab on Netflix. Like, there's a lot more female science communicators. A woman just won the Nobel Prize for her research on black holes. I mean, I feel like that there's more representation now. When I started, first of all, I want to say, I didn't think I'd be representation for females in science, because I was just having fun. I didn't know I was doing science till that ended up being the byproduct of MythBusters. And then we dove into it. It was a male-dominated field, but I mostly within my circles didn't feel like that, because Tori and Grant feminists. Jamie gave everybody a chance. It was fine. It wasn't until media that I felt that, where, you know, Tori Grant and they'd be asked to go interview for Wired, and I would get asked to do FHM, you know, like,
Oh, really?
if you put this lab coat on, you can do some experiments, but you don't get to wear pants. Like, and back then I'm like 27, 28. I'm like, okay, you think I'm pretty? I'll do it. Like, it was just, I didn't really think of the implications. I was just happy to do anything at that point. It was just, everything was a fun adventure, and I'm why not to everything. I definitely had a harder time entering the show because I was assumed to have been part of it because you're a cute girl. Like, nobody knew. Like, I busted my ass to get on the show. You know, I worked 13-hour days, 6 days a week. I cleaned chicken guts off the ceiling. I handled every single bodily fluid of my cast members. And I'm saying every bodily fluid. We had a myth where we had to collect everybody's on the team's semen in a bag.
Oh,
They all had to bring it that night, and we had to pool it, put it in a baggie, and shoot Civil War weaponry through it. Like, I cleaned up everything. So I didn't just get this job. I worked hard. But, you know, I would instantly be said, you know, people would say, oh, you're just there because you're a girl.
People actually say that to you? Would people actually literally say that? That's kind
Well,
of...
we used to have message boards, and it wasn't like, it was more Reddity, you know, where it was just messages, and the producer would make us read through all of it. And it was before I had a thick skin, and I would just cry because I was just like, why are they so mean?
Why would they make you read that? That's like making somebody sit through their own focus group. Like, that's...
Because this is where we got our myths. This is how we directed the show. We had so much audience participation that it was almost communal. And, you know, we really wanted to engage people because they were a part of it. So, you know, a 4th grade class from Minnesota could send in a myth, or, you know, a guy in his basement somewhere unfun would say something mean, you know, like we didn't care. We took all
Like
of
in
it.
Boise?
I didn't say anywhere. I'm not calling out anything.
Your New York accent just came out there, like, in Boise. Yeah, it's unfortunate though. But look, you know, things like FHM and all of that, like it builds your, I won't say build your brand like that. Not that plays a part in it, but it's just another sense of exposure that, you know, got more people to know who you are. I'm not saying like they're going to look at you in FHM and go, okay, let me get into science. But you know, nobody wants to see Jamie in FHM. So, yeah. So, you know.
I own it all. For me, it was an adventure. And I truly believe, like, that's why I always said I've crash testing, is because I rarely say no just in case an opportunity or a fun time or a friend or something comes out of it. Because even something that you go into that seems like it's not going to be fun or not be the best sometimes yields the best fruits. I have made such good friends and connections by doing appearances on, you know, a show that I wasn't sure of, like this one.
Yeah. That's great.
Well,
I'm not sure. We've been doing it for 10 years, so don't worry.
Every other episode is like, we're quitting the show. I don't know.
Exactly. You've just basically helped us survive for another week.
You guys are fun. I like it here.
Thank you. I do want to know, like, what are those shoots? What are they like the FHM shoots? It's got to be a weird kind of setup. Did it cover you in like salad dressing and also like I've heard like a lot of weird things go on, like to make your skin shiny and all this weird stuff.
They were actually very respectful to me, and I thought I looked real good that day. I worked out a bunch, and I was in my late 20s. I was like, this is it. Like, I was fine with everything. The only thing I didn't like is I thought that the final pictures looked fine, and then they photoshopped them so hard, and there were parts of my body I was not insecure with, and I'm like, why are my arms all skinny? Like, my arms are good. Like, I'm like a, you know, I made my arms skinny and my boobs went boop, 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 and my thighs went beep, 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 beep.
Oh my God.
I'm a thin girl. Like, they didn't need to do all that.
That's a shame. I didn't realize that they did that.
Oh, you didn't realize that they Photoshop in the girly mags.
To that level.
Men never know how much that they do. They're just
call it
maybe a little touch up.
Carrie just
Wait, are you serious? That's the only way I post Instagram photos of myself. I have to look like a hottie with a body.
All the filters.
Every single last one plus Photoshop.
Yeah,
If I had the body that was in FHM, I couldn't physically walk. I would have tipped over. That is not real.
That's a myth. It's a myth we need to bust.
I completely inflate my boobs every time I post a picture of myself. It's just
Absolutely. That's the only way I'll do any photos. So give me double D's or I'm not taking this shot.
Right? Right?
I
I have a feeling Photoshop is happening to your headshots right now. Don't dare the internet.
Well, what's funny is before we started, I'm like, "Are you okay if I use this picture? Are you okay if I use that picture?"
I'm like, yeah, those are fine.
I would have thrown up the FHM. You don't mind if I use it?
There are some photos on the internet that have been around for so long that people think they're real, but they're straight Photoshopped. Like, I was never a bodybuilder, but for some reason, there's this picture of me with the word busted on this like super buff girl, and it's like a terrible picture of me that they really badly Photoshop, but it is just taken as like, that's something I did. I'm like, longest time Wikipedia said that I had resuscitated a dying duck with mouth to mouth, and it was up there for like a decade. That never happened.
Speaking of, how the fuck did chicken guts get on the ceiling?
So we were trying to see if airplanes, the windshield of the airplane was going to break when birds hit it. And the myth was that the birds had frozen and that had created like a bullet-like effect. So we were shooting chickens into a plane, into glass, basically. And we were shooting them and it wasn't working. And so the raw chickens would go and the frozen chickens would bust through. But what ultimately happens is that you have a shop, which is generally a working shop filled with pipes and wood shop and everything, but basically covered in both chicken guts and broken glass. And then, the experiment ends and Jamie and Adam are like, woo, big day, we're going home. Carrie, Tori, clean this up. And Tori and I had this moment, we were on a boom lift on the ceiling, scraping chicken guts, like, oh, gross, it's in my eye. And Tori looks at me and he's like, I left ILM for this. Sucker!
That's so gross. Sorry. I see.
That is not even the grossest thing we've done.
You just mentioned a bag of collective semen. I mean,
Yeah, that seems like the grossest.
I've had wolf urine on my face. We've had rotted earwax. We've had a collection of week-old spit. We've had poop and farts. And, at one point we had to test whether you could make sandpaper out of shark skin for Shark Week. So I had to cure it in my own urine and let it sit there for weeks and then take it out. And just like the smell of old fish rotting in urine. Oh my God, the smell of goat horn on the bandsaw. Like, I have an olfactory encyclopedia of all the worst smells in the world. So try and
What is
shop
the
me.
number one worst smell?
Number one worst smell is infected earwax, followed by wolf urine in heat. I would say, followed by
I did
shark
get
skin
coyote
rotting in
urine on my hand once, and it smelled for a good month. I couldn't get it off.
heat. Nature's a mother.
I like that you had no one's able to qualify wolf urine in heat.
In heat.
Not just wolf urine.
No, yeah, it's got to be that like bring nature on stuff, like pheromone, just pungent. Come and
funniest
get
thing
me
is that-
urine.
A wolf is like, we're ready to go.
Yay.
This part is definitely the highlight clip. All the disgusting thing, without a doubt.
I had to express the anal gland of my own dog.
You know what?
Wait,
I've
wait.
done that too. It sucks. It's not my favorite.
And if you collect it from a bunch of dogs and you put it in a test tube, even better.
when I have a female cat, and we got her before she was big. She was too young. And when she went into heat, she's still like, we had a week before I had to take her, and she was just walking around and howling, and I felt so bad. So I go on YouTube and I say, let me look and see if there's any kind of remedy I could do, because I felt bad for her. She's walking around and howling and like rolling, like, somebody give it to me, So
like high school,
right? Exactly, like I was with my Converse with plastic bags on my feet. So I go. So I go on YouTube, and this woman has a video, and I'm sure you could probably still look it up. She's like, here's what I do to relieve the cat. And she starts like literally using her finger to relieve the cat. And I'm like, I am not doing that.
Did the cat got better on the video?
I guess I didn't stick around.
It smoked a cigarette afterwards.
What was that hashtag? And did it use the P word?
Yeah, I know. I don't know what the hashtags were.
It was WAP.
It was like, she's like, what you do. So I'm watching it first, like any YouTube video, you don't know what's about to happen. She's like, what you do? And she's like petting the back of the cat. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. And then all of a sudden I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. She's like, just go in there a little bit. I'm like, I am not use my finger on my cat. I'm just not.
There's so many jokes happening right now. Everybody who's watching this is just like hashtag.
I know. Don't worry. This won't be the clip. I promise.
This is the one part of the show that's getting like completely edited out.
This goes on the personal reel.
Yeah, just Rob contemplating pleasuring his cat for the sake of the cat's existence.
I'm holding back. You see, I'm in production, and behind the cameras, it's a whole different sailor type of bonding. So let's go back to children's programming.
Well, you know what? What better way to segue than for everything that we've talked about that you've worked on, all of your projects, your book, I think the best place people can go is that's the wrong one. There you go, to your website, KariByron.com. It has links to pretty much everything, but also you can go to projectexplorer.org right now, and you can watch the clips of Crash Test World and get the segments. And I got a really great idea of what the show is, and it's really great. And it's good to see that you just keep going with this, because you're excellent at it, and we need more programming from you. So I'm really glad that you're still doing that kind of stuff.
Well, and it's really great right now while kids are e-learning and bored and not able to go and explore.
I think we all have a little bit of travel FOMO right now, so I'm hoping I'll get back out on the road. I'm willing to quarantine in any country to get out there and just bring the world into our living rooms.
Yeah, do you have new places planned that you haven't gone for the show yet?
Oh my God, we had so many places like booked, and then lockdown happened. So, we want to go to Turkey and Pakistan and back to Germany. We have our list is eternal, but I think until a travel situation gets a little easier, I think my next location might be Minnesota.
Yeah, there's a lot of wild stuff going on there too. For sure. But I can't thank you enough for joining us, Kari. This was great. You're welcome back anytime you have anything to promote, and hopefully we can talk about season 15 of Crash Test World at some point and promote that as well.
If I'm ever in New York, I hope that I get a Lori, Rob, and Franco cocktail. Can we do that?
Yes.
You got
Absolutely.
Kari, thank you so much for joining us. I wish you the best, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, Kari. Bye,
Thank you so
George.
much.
All right. Bye-bye. Take care.
Oh, man.
That was a lot of fun.
She was really fun.
Yeah.
She
So
was great.
Could you tell 13-year-old me used to watch her?
Yeah, because that smile is still there, weirdo.
Yes.
Creep.
No, I mean, it's maybe not 13. I think that show is what, 20 years old at this point?
Yeah.
From when it ended to now? Yeah, actually, so yeah, about 12
I think
or 13.
every boy loved her.
I love the show in general. I'd never seen anything like it, where they were just basically blowing shit up and just fucking around, but my parents would let me watch it. It was educational in some ways. So it was cool.
But
she was really nice. Are we still recording?
Yeah, we are. But you're going to
But we're not live.
We're not live, but this will be in the episode. We're still going.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Forget it.
You can say something. I'm not going to compliment her after all.
He's going to admit that he did not read the Mueller report.
No, I did actually read the Mueller report. That actually was not a lie. I really don't like my job, and I really did spend like hours just reading the Mueller report.
That's also going to be on the show. You realize that, right?
Yeah.
That's fine. That's what I did. I mean, fuck my job. I hate my boss. If you can hear me, Bob, I hate you. I fucking hate you. You're the worst boss I've ever had. You're an incompetent little cunt.
Wait, hold on, Franco. I'm just going to zoom in for a second. If you could give us a quick, I hate my boss.
Hey, you're watching Franco Del Valle on the whole podcast, and I fucking hate Bob. Worst boss ever. You heard it here. He's a cuck.
That's hilarious.
I hope that gets me new jobs.
I don't
It's
know
like, hey,
if
we have a
that's
little
how it
cuck
works.
that you could work for. Just end up becoming a cuck for a living.
Listen, I want to thank, while we're on the cuck, I want to thank everyone for watching the whole podcast. I want to make it really clear, if you're listening to this, we do everyone in HD video now. Go to thewholepodcast.com. Check us out, subscribe, review. This is, I say it every week at the end, we've been on a great run. We got a lot of surprises coming up, a lot more guests coming up. I'm working on a couple really good ones right now. And, you know, I'm so disappointed in some of the fans because I said, for Neil, I can't wait to tell you who the guest is going to be. And the guy's like, it's going to be Big Mike, right? I'm like, dude, you got to think bigger than that at this point.
Bro, I mean, Big Mike is like the coronavirus fucking like vaccine. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's never going to happen.
Everyone's fucking waiting for it.
Yeah, he's Trump's health plan. And you know what? Let's get to that too. I want everyone to make sure that you early vote. Please do not wait till election day. Early vote. If you got a mail-in ballot, please bring it to an election box or a ballot box, like an official one. Try not to drop it in the mail. You know why I'm saying this. And even if you are for the narcissistic orange bag of shit, that's fine too. Your vote should have to count too. So it shouldn't, but it will.
But it does.
But it does. So really, early voting is the key. I think I'm going to go when they open it up here at the end of the month, and I'm going to wait online, and I'm going to bring a fucking lounge chair and wear my mask, and I'm going to vote, even though we're in New York. And if none of us showed up, it would still, the electoral votes would go. I don't care. I'm doing it for a purpose. Anyone who sat there and watched him, like I tweeted out, pant like a German shepherd to show how strong he was. That display of embarrassment that he put on yesterday. If that's not it, okay, if you are unemployed right now, he just basically told everyone, I'm not doing any kind of relief package until after the election. Then I'll do it. Vote for me and I'll do it. Fuck this guy. It's time. I don't care. We've been quiet for the longest time. We finally started talking about this the last couple. I know there's a lot of people who listen to us who all of a sudden stopped reaching out or stopped, commenting every week. And I know why, because I know you're Trump guys. And I don't fucking care because this is important. So all of you that do share our mindset, especially, don't not go because you're not excited for Joe Biden. Fucking go. Where were you 4 years ago? Show up. Show up early and vote. This guy denied coronavirus for months and then got it. And then even it would be smart political play to say, you know what? It's worse than I thought. Wear a mask. Instead, the fucking idiot doubled down. If that made you mad like it made us mad, get up on your early voting day and go to the fucking polls and wait.
Well, and know what else? If you're in Manhattan, I may be at the voting center. So
there you go. That's right. Lori's a poller. She's working at the polls.
And that is a sight for your eyes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, but they're going to think you work for Fox News because you're blonde.
No, because I'll be wearing 3 masks.
Exactly. What? There is an encouraging sign that I saw today. Another early voting opened up, and the lines were, Paul Feig actually tweeted it. So if you follow Paul Feig at Paul Feig, the line was going longer and longer and longer. And the thing that I was most excited about were there were a lot of minorities online and a lot of masks online. A lot of
Where
them.
was that, Rob?
I don't remember. I'll check the tweet again. But I even responded to him and I said, I see a lot of masks. That's a good sign. But do not get complacent. Do not listen to the numbers. Do not listen to the polls. Show up and do what you need to do, please. I'm begging you. We had a great guest who dedicates her life to educating people on science. The same person denies that it exists. It's embarrassing. That's it. I have nothing else to add. As you could tell, I'm a little annoyed by the last display.
Well, happy birthday,
Rob.
Franco.
Tell us how you really feel, Rob. Tell us how you really feel.
Happy birthday, Franco.
Oh, and I got one thing to say. Rest in peace to Eddie Van Halen. Probably one of the greatest guitarists of all time.
Absolutely.
What a fucking bummer, dude.
I know. You see the guitars behind me. Look, he struggled with cancer for a long time, and I've heard through grapevines and people that I know that are in the music industry that have said that he was been sick for a long time. And
I just give up on 2020.
yeah, I mean, look, the guy, he's one of the reasons why I barely play the guitars behind me. He's one of those guys that inspires you to want to play guitar. And then when you get a guitar, you fucking hate him because you realize you'll never, ever be able to do that. And yeah, it's been a shit year. So let's start getting out of it one thing at a time. We can't bring Eddie back.
Absolutely. And I'll say this. If the current president wins, I'm shaving my fucking head and just starting fresh because this is garbage.
Don't do that to me. I like it.
Okay, fine.
Then you're just gonna be a skinhead with the rest of them.
But I have a wispy mustache. It doesn't count.
If you can, at least take some FHM style shots beforehand.
Absolutely. Will you oil me down, add double D's, and then make my arms slimmer?
With salad dressing. I will oil you.
Yes.
I'll make you into a weightlifter.
That'd be cute.
Well, that's about all I have to say. Once again, go to thewholepodcast.com. Check out all of our episodes. Thank you for listening to The Whole. I am Rob Sprance.
I'm Franco Del Valle.
I'm Lori Levine.
Later, motherfuckers.